Hi everybody, Mike from RMT family. Today we're taking the Bolt on a trip that we done before. We're going to Plains. Now the conditions are a little bit different today. We still drop into the 20s at night, but during the day we hit 50s, sometimes even low 60s here in the past few days. So it's much warmer. Also, the road conditions are much better. It's actually dry. On the last trip, it was a mix between snowy, rainy, wet, dry, icy, whatever. So totally different conditions. We're charging it again to 100%. It should be fully charged by now. I will do a preheat while it is plugged in, since it's still a little chilly out this morning. We're just at about freezing point right now. So we'll preheat the car while it's plugged in so we don't use any of the charge out of the battery. And then we will get going on that trip, and we'll see if we can do better than on the previous trip. And that's what we hope for, because we actually have to do some running around in Plains. So we're hoping to get a few extra miles out of this. Let's go. All right, I got into the car. We can see the battery heater was inactive for 4,712 seconds as of last update. So it's been on earlier today. Currently it is off, cabin heat still off. So battery is at 100% at charge. Battery temperature is 46.4, and we haven't driven any at all. Ambient there is about 33.8. That's pretty accurate. Battery coolant is 44.6. That's because the heater was running earlier. So let's fire up the car here. And let's see what we got going here. Cabin heat should come on here. Let's set this to auto. Okay. We're set to 67. Let's bring it up a little bit while we're plugged in. We might as well heat a little bit extra. This, by the way, shows 34, which means it does round this temperature up. This here's the exact reading. So let's look over here. We show 209 miles, average minimum 171, max 246 at 100%. Okay. On the other side here, regen looks pretty gray right there. That's because we're at 100%. We cannot really regenerate because the battery is full. So, and we're currently still green, so we're still charging a little bit, but very little, because now our cabin heat came on at 7,500 watts. That means we're using almost everything from the charge to basically preheat the cabin at this point. So we are going on that trip. It is about 90 miles one way, so we need definitely 180 if we drive the same we've been driving. But I'm trying to push it a little bit harder this time and go a little faster than we did on the last trip, and see if we can make this or not. Even by pushing it a little faster, we'll bring our level 2 charger with us here that we have here to charge at home. We'll see if we need to plug in somewhere, so we want to be prepared. We also have the level 1 that comes with the car with us, so that we possibly could charge up a little bit in plains or wherever we need to. But as we found out with the Bolt, you can actually gain a lot of range just by going slower. It's amazing how much you can get out of this little car just by going slower. All right, so we'll preheat here. Cabin heat's already dropping, so as soon as it's a little warmer out, things warm up much quicker. It is amazing how that goes. Yeah, we'll preheat it, and then here in a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, we'll be leaving. So the car is preheated now. It still shows 100% here. Battery temperature, battery coolant, all this stuff is about the same. Ambient air already came up. It's warming up pretty quick. Battery heater did not come on while it was preheating. And we are still showing 209 miles average, so we're good to go. We are unplugged. Still got the 209 miles showing. I reset the trip meter, and so currently we're at 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour, but we haven't been driving yet. And it is currently 9:16. So let's go. We are at our first stop, same stop that we did last time. So we just came off the interstate and we drove 56.5 miles at 2.9 miles per kilowatt hours. We're down to 141. We started at 209. That's a bit more that we lost than we actually drove. The reason for that is we were going at 75 miles per hour and the Bolt is just not efficient above about 65, definitely above 70. It's very inefficient. So over here where this gray line is, we had a yellow line usually about a quarter to halfway down while we were on the interstate. So also the ring, this ring around here, around that, was yellow. It's indicating we're not driving efficient, and that's just due to the speed. So, but since it's warmer today than it was last time, we're going to push that a little more and see if we can still make that. Let's see over here. It is now 10:14 and it is 46 degrees out already. Up, flip right side up. So battery state of charge, we're down to 70.6%. Over here it still shows 75. That is that inaccurate display. Don't like it at all. Battery heater never came on. Cabin heat is on, going at $13.99, and the AC is on as well. So it's dehumidifying. That's why the AC is on. So we're using altogether here about 3,400 watts right now between heat and AC. One of the interesting things is, if you look on here, the heat is lit, the AC is not. So the car can turn the AC on without actually telling you here. Just, I guess, to not confuse people. So it just turns it on to dehumidify the cabin. So we're here at St. Regis, and this is the stop where you gotta get a Huckleberry Shake. So if you come through on I-90, get off in St. Regis and get yourself a Huckleberry Shake. That's what we're doing right now, and then we'll keep on going. We made it to our destination, 89.9 miles. We averaged 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. We drove about 68, 69 on the highway. We only got 98 miles left. We started with 209, so we used quite a bit more than it said. And you can see the yellow line is going down. It was actually all the way down as we crawled up in here on this dirt road. But we made it, and we got 98 miles left, so that should basically get us back home, hopefully. We'll find out. Over here we got, it's 11:08 right now, and it's 47 degrees outside. We actually turned the climate control completely off because it was blowing relatively cold. So the battery heater never came on. We got just time up now to 13,060. Cabin heat and AC is off. Battery state of charge is 51.8%. Battery coolant is now 62.6. And the battery temperature is 59 degrees. And the ambient here we show actually 51.8. While this one here still only shows 47. So yeah, we made it. We'll take the stats again before we leave, and we'll go from there. So we're done with our run around here in Plains, and now we're stopping in for some barbecue at Jamie's dad's place. And so we haven't been charging yet. We drove around just a little bit showing a couple properties. So we have a total of 96.6 miles. And we only have 91 left, even though we started with 209. So we lost some. Probably high speed has one of the things on the interstate, since the Bolt is just not very efficient. And so yeah, we got 96 miles on it now. We got 91 left. We need to make it back home. That is about 90 miles. Max shows 107, not many extra miles. We'll see if we can stretch that. I don't know, we'll look around here and see, maybe we find something decent to plug in and get a little charge. And the average is at 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. Not so super great. Now it's pretty hard to see with all this dust on here. Let's see, 93% was used for driving, and the climate settings, can't even read this dang thing there. It's basically that little purple up there, so 7%. We used 33.3 kilowatts, and it's 73 degrees now, so it warmed up pretty good. So actually the AC was running. Let's see, the sun's shining in here and everything is reflecting. Battery temperature is now 62.6. Ambient air here shows 73.4. Battery coolant shows 73.4 too. Interesting. And the battery shows 49.8. So we got 50% left. And obviously the battery heater has not been active at all today. And now that it warmed up, cabin AC is going, no more heat. So we're cooling down a little bit in here. And just earlier here when I started it up, cabin heat showed like 6,500 watts. So you can draw quite some power as well. But now we'll go have some burgers and I'll update you before we leave. So we're about to leave here in Plains. Still got the 96.6 miles at 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. We got 95 miles left. We only got probably about 89 to go, so we should be fine, right? So Using 93% for driving. Climate control is 7%. So that is a little lower, the climate control, compared to the winter driving. In the winter driving, we were usually about 9%. So yeah, we'll get going and see if we can make it. We didn't charge at all here, so we should be hopefully all right. Battery temperature is 68, ambient 75. Battery coolant and ambient is the same. That's kind of odd, but battery state of charge 49. And there's cabin AC. It turned on at almost 2500 watts right there. And obviously the battery heater did not come on ever since it came on during the night. So, all right, let's go. Made it back. Plenty of miles to go. Still shows 28 miles. It turned amber at about, what was that, 34 miles. And I peeked at the app real quick, which it just dropped below 15%. It was like 14.6 showing. So I'm pretty sure it turns amber at 15%. So basically at 15% state of charge, you're on reserve. We got 191.8 miles total driven, and we averaged 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. We used 96% for driving and accessories, 4% for climate settings. We used 59.1 kilowatt hours total, and well, the 191.8. So the interesting thing I done is on the way back, first I turned it to auto, but then I turned the AC off because it was blowing ridiculously cold. Even though the temperature is set to 72, it was kind of freezing us almost out of here because we wanted to cool the car down so quickly. And so what I did, I turned the AC off, and obviously that saved a lot of power right there. I left the fan still on auto, so the fan was blowing still relatively high, but it was at the time 73 degrees out, and that was comfortable. And right now it's 63 degrees. So Let's see what else we got here. 11.8. That is the state of charge right now. Ambient air 64 here. Battery coolant now 77. That's still nice and toasty. Battery temperature 75. Still nice and toasty. Obviously the battery heater never came on. And cabin heat and AC both were 0 for the whole trip, basically. At least after I turned it off. But anyway, turning that AC off definitely helped, and that's why we dropped on the climate settings from 7 to 4%. I assume if we would have left it with the AC on, that number may be a little higher. But that definitely saved some there. So we were going, this trip was slightly different than the trip that I'm comparing it to that we done a couple months ago when it was a lot colder and the road conditions were a lot worse. Now we have perfect road conditions. It was almost the same trip, except this time we, rather than driving straight to Grandpa's place and then straight back from there, we had to drive to another place in Plains. And from there, again, a couple miles up the road, and then back down across town to Grandpa for the barbecue. So we have a few extra miles already there. Then on the way home, my wife needed to go look at a property real quick, which took us 4 miles off the interstate. So there was an additional 8 miles that we did right there. So yeah, we did more miles today. And we still got 28 miles left, so that's pretty darn good, I guess. I mean, for some reason, I kind of expected it to be much more, that we even wouldn't come down as low as we are, but that was kind of an unreasonable expectation, I guess. Overall, actually, it did pretty good. Also, we did better, but we didn't do so much better that he would say it does bad when it's cold out. So comparing it to the trip in the cold, it actually did pretty darn good in the cold, and it did really good today as well. On the way there, we did go a little faster. We didn't push it too hard, but we went a little faster. And it was definitely a little hungry or thirsty or whatever you want to call that when it's eating the battery up. On the way back, we did go a lot slower. So we at first only went about 60 miles on the highway. And eventually, actually, we were behind a car with a small boat and even dropped down to about 56 miles per hour for a couple miles or so. And then on the interstate, we started out relatively slow, basically also at 60 miles per hour. There was not much traffic, so it was no big deal. And then as we got closer to home, just about 5 miles before the exit, 5 miles ahead of the exit, we sped up to about 70 and went 70 to the exit because we had plenty of power left. But again, the trip really shows that the Bolt is super efficient up to about 60-65, okay? That ring around the speedometer here on the dash. So right now that ring is gray. It's this ring right here. It will change color as you're driving. So if you're driving efficient, that ring is green. And then it kind of will start turning and go to yellow. And when it's yellow, you're not so efficient anymore. So at 60, we still had basically a green ring. At 65, it was kind of tipping towards the yellow. So it was already not that efficient. But between 55 and 65, you can really gain some extra miles here in a pinch. And so today we could have went a little bit faster, and then we would have come back even lower. But I don't know how much faster we could have went. It definitely would not have made it at the speed limits. If we would have went the 80 miles per hour speed limit on the interstate and the 70 mile per hour speed limit on the highway, we could not have made the full round trip. In the Tesla, I know we can. We done it. We even done it the long way around, where we added an additional probably 40 or 50 miles. Obviously, the Tesla has more range, the Model 3 that we have, the 2018. But it's just a much more efficient car at higher speeds compared to the Bolt. The Bolt just doesn't do the high speeds. So a Bolt would be definitely a great city car, great in the suburbs. I mean, it's great for us going, if we just go to town, let's say, which is a 60-mile round trip, that's no big deal. I mean, we can push the 80 miles, that's no problem. It's just on the long trips, you gotta go a little slower at times, at least until the charging infrastructure improves. Biggest problem, basically, there is no chargers, DC fast chargers mainly available, especially here in Montana. If there would be a DC fast charger in Plains, I mean, we would have been blasting out there 80 miles and 70 miles doing the speed limit, go out there and hook up to the DC fast charger for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, and we could have been blasting back home. It's not possible because, well, there's no chargers whatsoever. Like I said, we could have charged at Grandpa's, but then we would have had to unplug his motorhome, and it's like, nah, let's just try and see if we can do it. That's much more interesting. So anyway, the Bolt has proven itself to be a good EV again. Overall, we are really happy with the Chevy Bolt, and I think it's well worth the money that we paid for it. As I pointed out before, we did not pay MSRP. I wouldn't have paid $40,000 for this car, let's put it this way. We paid $25,500, and that is good. This is a $25,000 car to me, and that is perfect. It's a perfect $25,000 car. So the new Bolt and the Bolt EUV will have some improvements, and I don't know what they're selling for. They have I mean, their starting prices or their MSRP prices are relatively high, but GM is a legacy automaker, and they probably still play the old game. We start out high and then you can chew us down, and, you know, kind of deal like that. I don't know. Unlike Tesla or Rivian, this is the price, and either you take it or you leave it. So I would assume the GM deal is still set a little higher MSRP, and you just chew them down to a decent price. But I think GM overall has a good product here, and we really like the Bolt. So, but we need a bigger car that is capable of doing these rural roads around here with more people in it, so that my wife can drive the clients around. Well, anyway, that's it. I appreciate that you were watching. Please make sure to give us a thumbs up, share this video with others, comment down below, and you can just say hi, that's fine too. Comments help with the YouTube algorithm to show this video to more people, and we would love to grow this channel a little more. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.